If you just watch one how to install a French drain video, this is the one. It has all the details. We cover everything that you need to know to build a French drain that will last forever. Enjoy. We're in beautiful Lake Orion, Michigan. We have over 200 feet of French drain. I want to show you every connection, every pipe, every component. Let's go through it. So this front yard is so wet, so saturated. Their kids can't play on this yard. It's hard to maintain. It's pretty flat. It doesn't have a lot of pitch out to the street. We have some pitch this way, so we ran 2 parallel French drains. Now, I want to make sure that I make this point extremely clear. When you're running French drains in clay, people always want to know how far can you pull moisture from your French drain to where. This is a great example. This is textbook. This is perfect what the guys have done here. So you typically can only pull water from about 6-7 feet tops. 6.5 feet is what's documented in all the testing, that you could actually draw water to a French drain in clay. So we have these French drains spaced out perfectly. You figure you split right down here, you're looking at about 6.5 feet, 6.5 feet. We're going to be able to dry up this entire front yard with these 2 French drains. It's absolutely key that in an area of this size that's completely saturated, that you run 2 parallel French drains opposed to just 1 single. Now I'm going to show you what the guys did. They got clean outs. We always put a clean out on with a turf plate. Then the other clean out, we don't need a turf plate. We'll be able to locate it easy enough with the one. They went ahead and they used the wide clips. I'll explain to you what the wide clips are. The wide clips space out the pipe. Why did the guys want to use the wide clips? My guys love the wide clips because you can get stone between the pipe. Look at this trench. This is the perfect trench. You want to know what the perfect French drain is? This is it right here, and let me tell you why. We have 2 pipes at the bottom of this trench. There's room for stone to go in between the 2 pipes, so like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inch stone all rolls down to the bottom, and it just ends up supporting the pipe. If you don't have stone underneath the pipe, right where my hand, right there, like the stone has to roll, little round rocks. You want to basically support this pipe so that way when real heavy lawnmowers, vehicles, yes, light vehicle traffic, if they're built like this, if you have a tree service come in and remove a tree, and they drive a 4-wheel drive stumper, or maybe a tired machine with a grapple on it, they can't crush this. Because look at this, stone's going to roll under here, stone's going to roll under here and hold the pipe and support the pipe, stone's going to roll under here. The guys did a great job. This is the perfect French drain. It can weather anything. The amount of sediment that's going to be in the bottom of this trench is not going to affect the French drain. Now, if it was only wide enough for 1 pipe, the sediment that comes from the walls, the sediment always comes from the walls. It will go through the fabric. The fabric has tiny little holes punched in it. Look at all them holes. This is a process that we pay to have our fabric put through. It's double punched. The reason why we do that, we want the sediment to go through. Just wash through. That way it doesn't plug the fabric. And then all the granulars get stuck behind the fabric once the sediment washes through. And you get what's known as the stone filter zone. It's a really big deal, and it's the key to why fabric works so well for us. So we're going to have stone in between the pipes because we're using the wide clips. The wide clips are our black clips. We color coded them. The ones that are narrow are the light blue. If we would have did a quad pack, then we can use the light blue to stack tightly pipe on top of pipe to do 4 pipes versus 2. We're not that deep, so we're just running 2 pipes. This is the picture perfect French drain. This is unflawed. You're not going to match the performance that this French drain is going to give you by building a French drain any other way. Then on top of that, the guys are going to put drainage sand on the fabric. So they're going to fill this with stone, they're going to encapsulate it and pin it, and then put the drain sand a couple inches on that before they put the sod on. Now if sod has clay on the back, you know, you cut the sod off of a clay lot and you can have clay on the back of the sod. Now once the grass roots grow through all the little holes that we have put in the fabric, look at all those little holes. The grass roots will grow through. Water's then going to travel down the root into the French drain. But meanwhile, while we're waiting for the grass to grow through the fabric, we need sand on the fabric so that we get good percolation. We want our system to be highly permeable from day one. We don't want the homeowner calling us after a really big rain once it was installed saying, hey, I got a puddle on my French drain, because that's what will happen if you put a clay-backed piece of sod down with no sand under it. So the guys did a beautiful job here. They're taking the 2 perforated pipes to 2 Ys. I mean, this is really nice. They have a second French drain right here. We're really fortunate to be able to tag along with this crew. To see work like this. This is 40 years. 40 years of perfection is what you're seeing. And then combined, we have over 150 years of drainage experience on this crew. Unbelievable. So we have a clean out on each pipe, so we can run a garden hose through it and flush it just for a peace of mind, or run a camera through it, and if there's sediment in it, then we could just jet it. The guys went with the wide clips. My guys love the wide clips. You're gonna always see my guys using wide clips. Why is that? Well, because there's not a manufacturer on the planet that will stand behind their pipe if you don't have the stone in between them. Or dirt if it's solid corrugated pipe and you got 2 side by side. Now what do you gain when you push these tight? You create more void because there's a space underneath the pipes and there's a space between the pipes. You can move more water with that. So if you're not going to drive on it and you know it's not going to see any heavy equipment, it's in a location where it's not an issue, you can use the narrow clips. This pipe's pretty strong, so it's going to take the abuse of lawnmowers with big operators, things like that. Now you don't have to tape these external couplers. You can see the external coupler right there. You don't have to tape it. None of these fittings have to be taped. This is a permeable system. It takes in water from all these holes. The only reason why you tape a fitting on is if it didn't hold very well. And our fittings are barbed and they don't come apart. Everything that's branded with the French Drain Man trademark has barbs and a hold that doesn't require the tile tape for its strength. Other manufacturers, you have to tile tape everything no matter what. This is a permeable system, so we're not trying to keep the water from leaking out. Water flows in all those holes. All these fittings need no tape. Now we have a really long run, but we have a lot of slope back here and this system's going to scream. So just how much dirt comes out of a 200-foot French drain? Well, look at the size of this trailer. We filled 2 of them. We had just over 200 feet of French drain. This is the #1 rule right here to building a French drain that'll last forever. You have to haul away all the dirt. You have to haul away all the dirt. You cannot put any of the dirt back in. If you put any of the dirt back in, you gave this French drain an expiration date at the time of install. Homeowners know this. If your contractor doesn't haul all the dirt away, get rid of that guy. Kick him out of your property. Don't sign with him. Get him off your property. Get him out of your life before he screws up the money budgeted for a really good French drain. The 3.5 inch goes underneath all the sprinkler lines. So much easier to install the 3.5 than the 4 inch. And because we build everything with 2 pipes when we're referring to a French drain, people want to know what we prefer when it comes to French drain now that we have a 3.5 inch pipe. Definitely the 3.5 inch pipe. The guys are going to build, out of 10 systems, 9 of them will have 3.5 inch pipe. Now, when you get to a really big system, you know, when my guys start doing, 300, 400, 500 feet of French drain, you get downstream of that, you're going to 4 inch. That's just the way that is. But this here, it's over 200 feet. It's a lot of French drain. And the 3.5 double piped is going to work fantastic. It's nice to work with. It's easy to handle. 3.5 pulls as easy as 3 inch. That's the beauty of it. But you're starting to get into the capacity of a 4 inch pipe. So the last drainage contractor or landscaper used this 6 inch catch basin, cut a hole in it to cram another piece of pipe in it. None of this is recommended. And as you can see, these China made, from Home Depot, look at how the sun faded this. The grass grew over this part, so it protected the colorant. But this colorant has no UV protection. And you get what you pay for. So this is that cheap Home Depot brand. I wish Home Depot never brought this brand into their store. They just really went downhill. So the guys are taking these wide clips. They're 3.5 inch pipe clips. They're going to go ahead and space this out all the way down. This is a really long run the guys are putting together. So when you look at these clips, you can see in the center, one's shorter than the other. You put the one that's long at the bottom on first. And the reason why this one's shorter is so that it can rotate and easily snap on to the second pipe. We've got a sprinkler line there. It's not a problem. We put one of our pop-ups on to replace that ridiculous Home Depot basin. That was just an absolute joke. Guys are going to go ahead and put the clips on all the way to the discharge end, where we're going to go to daylight, and we have 2 flow gates on the end. So Juan and Patrick, they're doing a great job. They're putting on all these clips. They're going about 3 feet. Every 3 feet, it looks like. They're not measuring. Just very simple. Just every few feet. Look at this. You end up with the pipe so straight and so perfect. Now remember, every time your pipe zigs and zags, you slow the water flow down. When you pin and clip pipe in a trench before you dump, stone on it, look how amazing that is. It's perfect. So the guys are dumping stone in the French drain. See how Cal's standing on the pipe? Francisco's standing on the pipe. They're piling stone on it. We don't have to worry about it because our pipe is so heavy. Our pipe is not just heavy duty. That's not good enough for us. Our pipe is extra heavy duty. We have an extra heavy duty and an extreme duty. We no longer have any heavy duty pipe. Now, I want to make that perfectly clear. We're hauling away all the dirt. We're not putting any of the dirt back in. Do not put any of the dirt back in. Haul it all away. Make sure you hire a contractor that puts in French drains where he removes all the dirt and just replaces it with pipe and stone. That's number one. If you're going to build a French drain to last forever, you got to haul away all the dirt. Now, if you don't have an 8-man crew, like a 6 or 8-man crew, that's about where we're at always, 6 to 8 men, then you're going to want to also put some pipe pins down. So we have the clips, and they're keeping the pipe spaced perfectly, which my guys absolutely love these clips. You see how Cal's got his shovel holding the pipe down. He's standing on the pipe. Francisco's got his shovel holding the pipe down. Now, if you don't have the manpower for this, you want to also pin your pipes down. And we're going to show you what that looks like here in a minute. I'm going to have the guys put some of these pipe pins down for holding the pipe in place. What'll happen is the stone will try to get under your pipe, and it's so heavy it'll lift the pipe up. You'll lose your perfect slope. It doesn't matter that our pipe is extreme duty, extra heavy duty. Yeah, it weighs a little more, for sure, but this is the same material that Tupperware is made out of. So it's light by nature. It's extremely light by nature. So you can see, like, there's a pipe pin there. So we have these pipe pins. If you don't have the manpower to stand on this, put these pipe pins in. It's extremely important. We got the clips, keeping the pipe spaced. We take the pins and use a rubber mallet, not your hand. Once you get the pipes centered in the trench, go ahead and use some pipe pins. If you don't have a 6-man crew, I think this is so important. Those hold really well, depending on the soil type, but in most cases, they hold really, really well. These cleanouts always want to curl up. Homeowners are like, hey, what are you doing? You're trying to pour stone around these. We have these pins. They're 6 inches wide. They're 8 inches long. They work really, really well. So Cal noticed that the pipe was humped up and that some dirt basically fell off the sidewall of the trench behind the fabric. He actually stuck his hand behind the fabric, dug out that dirt to get that section of pipe to lay flat. The faster you move, the better. Depending on the soil type, some soil will collapse on you. Guys are pretty efficient. They move quick. Now they're using round rock. We're not using crushed rock. It's 3/4 stone, 1/2 inch, down to even some 1/4 inch stone. It's a variety. It's called 6A natural stone here in Michigan. We just love it because you can drive cars over it. When you have this around the pipe, instead of just having a really big, like golf ball sized rock, and they drive on it, and that rock is putting a lot of pressure in just a small point on the pipe. Now that could damage the pipe, but when you have a bunch of stone that's, you know, 3/4 inch, ½ inch, that don't happen, because when you drive a vehicle over this, it's going to spread the load of the vehicle over more surface area of the pipe. All right, so the guys are cutting all the excess fabric. If you fold and doubled up the fabric, those drain holes, they don't line up. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of needle punch holes in this fabric. You just need this fabric overlapped a few inches. That's it. Now we can take water in from the top of the French drain. If the fabric's doubled up, you're not going to grab up any surface water. The guys are going to put down a couple inches of drain sand. This is going to be so permeable from the surface. We get a ton of rain, we're grabbing water up from the surface as well as the subsurface. But it's really important to use this drain sand on top of your fabric. I'm getting all kinds of reports from professional tradesmen all over the country saying, I took your advice on the sand on top of the fabric. What a difference. What a difference. They could see the difference. They go to their systems. These are guys that are like me. They always want to be better. They'll go and they'll watch their systems run in the rain, and they'll see how they perform. When you put the stone in, leave it a little low so you got room for that sand and the sod. Keep that in mind. You're looking at some of the very best in the country. All right, so we have these pins holding down the pipe. So we have the clips spacing the pipes. We have these pins holding the pipe in place. I'm showing this because DIYers, you need this. You don't have a bunch of men. You don't have a 6 or 8 man crew to help hold the pipe in place. And the guys don't even have to be that vigilant when those pins are in place. The stone can't push the pipe out of alignment. Keeps it in, keeps it on center in the trench, which is really important. Clips are simple, easy, but yet a lot went into this design. We had 6 prototypes. Man, we really spent a lot of time perfecting this. For a simple part, a lot went into it. Look how easy that is for the homeowner, the DIYer. Like, how else are you going to get your drain tile to have the perfect spacing? There's no other way. That is it right there. It straightens it right out as well. So it's really important. Looks really nice. The details matter. Why do our French drains run after decades and decades of being in the ground? It's the details. It's all the details. The details really matter. There's a lot of channels on YouTube, and there's some young guys out there starting to echo my message, and I'm glad. But man, for many, many years, nobody talked about the stone rolling underneath the pipe. Nobody talked about why it's so important to put 2 pipes in a French drain versus just 1. Nobody emphasized this. We started putting our videos on YouTube, and I didn't give enough explanation of what we were doing. People are like, why are you always putting 2 pipes in the bottom of a trench? We're sharing every single detail, like how to succeed at the highest level. So we have a lot of rocks right now in the subsurface soil, so it's taking some extra work to get these pipe pins in. We got all the clips on the pipe. That's always a glide, but depending on your subsurface, if you got a lot of rocks in your subsurface, it might take a few minutes to get all these pipe pins in to hold it down. Just want to make that clear. You're not doing anything wrong. And if you don't have any stones, well, they go in really nice with a rubber mallet. The guy's connected every single pipe. Look at this. It's just unbelievable. And then this outside pipe went all the way to this corner and wrapped around, so we got a clean out on it over here. And we can clean out this entire run. And then obviously this inside pipe, same thing. It went around this corner. We got a clean out on it. Comes through here. We can clean out this entire main line. I mean, if you don't build them to be serviced, if you're having some issues that you can't control, like soil bacterias, like iron ochre, iron ock, that stuff's bad news, man. And if you end up with that in your soil, you are going to need to jet out your French drain. So that's why we're big with the clean outs. We can get at it at the discharge end where we daylighted it. We can also get at it on those two clean outs and the two clean outs over here. Literally can jet every single pipe that you see in this installation. All right, so we got a couple flow gates at the end here. I want to show you guys what this looks like before the guys get here. Now we're still going to pin this to hold these down in place. We got the clips on here. So the guys tile taped on our flow gates. We already have the clips that hold the pipe and space the pipe. Now we're putting some pins to hold it in place a little more. Setting your pipe correctly is so key. I see too many contractors that just haphazardly set their pipes. I've seen some mad crazy stuff. I've seen guys throw one pipe in the bottom of a trench, no fabric, then just pour a bunch of stone over it with nobody controlling the pipe whatsoever. It's just moving everywhere. I've seen a couple places where we could use a few more of these. So here we go. See the big long part, and then here's the short part in the center, see? So put the long part on first, and then this rotates. See how it just rotates? Look at that. Really proud of these. Such a small part, and it makes me so happy to have, because how important this is. Here we go again. I'm going to pick the big end, put that on first. There you go. I'm doing this with, you know, obviously holding the camera, and there we go. So nice. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. We got two flow gates at the end. Guys did a really nice job. So if you have OCD like me, you're gonna love these clips. So right here, you see how I'm not happy with this at all. Why should I be? There's nothing to be happy with right here because the pipes come together. So we simply add in a clip, guys. It's that simple. That simple. You know, there was, for whatever reason, right here, we just got there. Look at that. Now we're getting somewhere. So where you can get away with spacing it more, space it more, but clearly, if the pipe are starting to come together, that's beautiful. That makes my heart happy. So again, I'm pretty particular because I know. I've seen failure, and I know what failure looks like. And failure, it comes from the time of installation. Every French drain that fails. So I want to give you guys something to think about. I share with you 40 years of experience with French drains. 40 years. French drains fail at the time of install. Now, they might work, but they're going to eventually fail due to the way they were installed. So that's where the failure comes from. That's why I'm so particular about the parts we make and how we install our drains. Now remember, I had to make all these parts because nobody else had any parts like this. I wasn't competing with anybody. It was, I got tired of asking for certain things and nobody producing them. Look at that. So we always put our French drain in the lowest point. The lowest point did meander a little bit. Nothing I can do about that. Water's going to find the low point, so you better be in it. But look at how those pipes are so straight to one another, and the spacing is so perfect all the way to those flow gates, where we're just going to dump the water in this back lot. And there's a little creek that runs through here. It's perfect. It's just a natural wetland area. We're putting the water in its place. We're putting it where it belongs. So when you're trying to dump stone and you can't get the loader in there, see, like the skid loader, they can't dump like this. It's too hard an angle, too much stuff in the way, and it would tip over because of the angle. So we're dumping using one of our turf protection mats, one of our ground protection mats. This is a technique my guys use all the time. Now, because we're going to need literally this whole stretch right here between the two houses, because it's so steep, we're going to need to do this. We have pins on all the pipe. Because see, nobody's standing right there. We got pin, 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 all the way down. Pin. So use these pins so that the stone can't lift your pipe up. And it's up to you how many you want to put on. You know, we want to make sure that this doesn't get knocked out of alignment. So we put enough in to where we're confident in dumping the stone in on the pipe. Where there's a will, there's a way. That'll work. This is a beautiful French drain. When the homeowner said, "What's your guarantee? What's your warranty?" I said, "I guarantee it to run for your entire lifetime. So if you have a problem, give me a call." Now, as far as iron ochre, iron ock, you know, soil grown bacterias, and in that category, there's dozens of others. That's just one that's heavily publicized and everybody seems to know about. That's why I mentioned that. But there's all kinds of reasons why you might end up with some cleaning. You might need a jetting. If it's working and your yard is nice and solid, then don't go looking for trouble. No need to. But if you think it's not working as good as it once did, then call your installer. Hopefully, he put clean outs on it, left himself a way in and out of the system. Hopefully he has an inspection camera. Hopefully he's a real pro. Look, if you're going to go hiring the cheapest guy, he doesn't have all the equipment. He's going to cut corners. He's not going to give you clean outs. He's not going to give you 2 pipes. Look, the cheap guys, I know what the cheap guys look like. They put 1 pipe in the bottom of their trench. They buy Home Depot catch basins for inline catch basins. And why is that a problem? Well, they have no sump. So your pipe fills full of debris when it comes to a yard drain, when you're draining a lot of surface water. So I know what hiring the cheapest guy looks like. These guys on YouTube have no shame. They'll show 1 pipe in the bottom of a trench for a French drain. They'll show these cheap little speedy basins from Home Depot for a yard drain. So you know that you're just going to get a bunch of sand in Florida that comes off your lot and is going to clog your pipe. But guess what? The same guy who installed it is going to charge you to jet that sand clog out because he didn't put nice sediment traps in that system. It's a peeve of mine. You know, we're giving you guys the blueprint for success. We know that this works. We know that this stands the test of time. And we're building the best parts that the industry's ever seen. So here's the drain sand. You guys are going to take a shovel, level that out, a couple inches deep, drainage sand. We spare no expense when we install a really good French drain. There's a 3-month wait for our service. And the people that have had a failed drain, they're happy to wait for us. And we're so blessed to have clients that want us and want us bad enough to wait for us three months. We're very blessed in that way. I don't know anybody putting in the quality French drains in our area that we are. The double pipes, all the stone, hauling away all the dirt, the really expensive double punched fabric. The list goes on and on. The all virgin pipe, no recycled pipe, no recycled materials. Animals love chewing on recycled pipe. Who knows why? Is it because there's a lot of melted down old food containers and restaurant containers? They're big giant, HDPE vats. Is it the chemicals they got to put in to get all that recycled material to adhere? Is that what the animals like? Is it because it's gummy and more chewy? Because it is more gummy than the virgin pipe. People are like, why are your pipes white and blue? Well, the reason why my pipes are white and blue is because they're not recycled. Now, we do make a virgin black, but that's only because we're going to make whatever the public and the contractors ask us to make. And I made that perfectly clear. So there is a need for some black pipe. If you're running a temporary system above ground, you don't want it to be very visible. The black gets lost in the shadows. And if you're running a downspout and you got the pipe coming up the house to a leaf filter and you have a black leaf filter, you don't want a white pipe. So I get all that. So we do make some black pipe. That's all virgin. But we have no pipe, zero pipe, that is recycled in our online store or in our yard, period. Everything that we make and sell and install is an all virgin product. No blown in fiberglass, no blown in talcum powder, no recycled materials, no fillers. See, the guy's already got the sod down. Look at that. You can't even tell we were here. Look at that. It's beautiful. Cal's cutting the sod out around the turf plate right here. Look at the attention to detail. What a crew. What a crew. What a crew. Look, we had a French drain that went right through here. We can barely tell. Got our clean out right here. Really nice work. Look at this work. It's hard to believe that it's just after lunch and this is darn near all put together, over 200 feet of French drain. So we're over 400 feet of pipe. Guys are just jamming. Everybody knows what they're supposed to do. Look at the pipes, they're staying spaced out perfect. They're staying down. And it's not by accident, because we did a lot intentionally to make that possible. I'm trying to stay out of the guys' way. I hate slowing them down. I hate getting in their way. You know, these guys want to get this job done. They want to get on to the next job, because eventually they want to make it home for dinner with their families, and you can't blame them. But before this is all covered, just look at how perfect that is. Those are 2 flow gates so that chipmunks can't come in. You know, they got little flaps, little doors. We got those in our online store as well. That is how you build a French drain to last forever. If you like the content that we're putting on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. It supports what we're doing. If you like the products that we're making right here in the USA, we're creating jobs for Americans. We're providing hours for US workers, whether they're engineers, whether they're tool makers, whether they're molders, whether they're shippers. Give us a thumbs up. Not enough companies make that a priority, unfortunately. And for too many years, we've been sending American jobs over to China. We got to stop doing that. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. It supports the channel. If you have any questions about yard drainage, leave them in the comments section. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood, and until the next video.